Wholeness, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about authenticity and how to preserve your authentic voice in an ever-growing censored culture and society. This is a huge concern for me. I believe there's an over-censorship from the get. I'm just going to be blunt. There's an over-censorship in our culture and our society to the point where if you express your authentic voice in any way, you are deemed a threat. You are deemed a threat. And so recently, I just recently subscribed to her channel. Her name is Nevelyn. We literally we're twins. We look like twins. She has a septum piercing and she has beautiful freeform locks. She's a creative, very creative person, a writer, a dancer. She does, I think, professional pole dancing. She's got several videos up. And she's just she's a feminist. She stands for protecting the matriarch, if you will, womanhood. I watched a video she posted like 8 or 9 months ago where she was canceled and censored from all social media platforms. Her very livelihood completely muted, okay? Completely just cut off. This is what I mean. Societal and cultural, it's now become societal and cultural normatives to silence those and cancel those who do not agree with a certain agenda or thought. If you would have asked me 10 years ago at the age of 25 that society would be what it is today, I would have laughed. I really would have. But now, even now, I censor myself on my own channel, which is I don't own this channel. And that's one thing I will say. If you don't own a platform, you have to abide by the rules set out. If you do not own the domain, it's not yours to begin with. If you don't own the channel, it's not yours to begin with, right? Really look into what is ownership, okay? If it's not on your name and you don't get it copywritten or published, and it's not publicized or it's not established in you haven't invested in that ownership, I'm so sorry, but it is what it is. It's a hard truth. It's a very, very hard truth. But if you don't own Facebook, if you don't own YouTube, if you don't own TikTok, if you don't own Twitter or X, whatever they call it now, it's not yours. And thus you have to abide by their rules, unfortunately, and their services. I'm also going to say this. If we could agree on a global scale to make the internet a service where every time you use the internet, well, we do pay for internet connection. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, well, actually, no. We make the internet in a way where we subscribe as customers. We would have more freedom. If we paid for YouTube service, we would have more say-so. If we paid for Instagram, if we paid for all these places, every time we click open the app to watch or to upload or to engage in any way, I feel like we would have more freedom. But because they've made everything for free, we don't have the freedom that we think we do. We have someone's boot, okay, a digital boot on our digital necks to keep us in line. That's why they keep us online, to keep us in line, because it's all about data control. It's all about data collection at this point. And it's a lot of filtering and hence censorship. But just think about that. If we did pay extra fees to have access to a service, to our internet services and our internet platforms, it would be we would have a lot of power. But right now we really don't. It's a very toxic relationship between social media and its users. They need us, right? I think of like the Russell Brands or the Jonna Jenthens, or she's a famous Swedish vlogger. Russell Brand is a celebrity turned, social commenter on politics and whatnot. Who else has millions of subscribers? Like these people have 5 to 6, 7, 8 million subscribers. All right, and that's huge revenue, huge money for these platforms. So you, in order to, but you know what's so funny? They're going after very small, because this beautiful woman, Nevelyn, um, I believe she's also part of the queer, or sorry, LGB community, right? And so it's like but she opposed their, the trans ideology, and but she had like under 6,000 subscribers, under 10,000 subscribers. That's not very large, compared to million, other YouTubers and other social media platforms. And it's like when they're going after small creators like this, it's just really concerning, right? And she mentioned in one of her last videos that you have to be so very careful. Your safety at this point, your financial safety, social safety, your physical safety even is in jeopardy if you decide to express your authentic voice. So how do we create a safe space for people to share what they want to share without being condemned, without being excommunicated? Because people are losing their employment due to this, because they have very strong convictions in what they believe in, and they're vocal. I know she mentioned in Canada, and I remember hearing about this a few years ago, that in Canada, if you say anything that goes against the or if you don't use their pronouns properly, you could be fired and jailed. And I know in Canada they don't have free speech like in the U.S. So protesting and activism and stuff like that is you're going to jail. It's not a right that they exercise or recognize over there. So that's very disheartening because 15 years ago, I'm like, oh, I want to move to Canada. I was like, they speak French up there. I would love to live in Quebec, like I become a Quebecoise. But that's no longer, I feel like, viable for me, because their ideologies aren't in alignment anymore for me. And even in the U.S., I think by far at this point, compared to many other places in the world, is the best place to be at right now anyway. Which right before our very eyes is changing. The U.S. is not the same, and it will never be. I have a lot of strong points of views. Am I brave enough to put them out or upload them and put it out there? No, I'm not, because I'm sorry, but if a woman's trying to build a multiple sources of income, you know what I'm saying? And that can be jeopardized, that could be cut off based off just an idea or feeling that I have that can change literally over time. That could, like, no one keeps the same way of thinking. We change, we evolve. My politics from 15 years ago has completely changed to where I'm at right now, because of maturity, because of life experience, because of successes, because of failures. So you mean to tell me if I upload that and I choose to share that with the public, now my way of life and how I feed myself and how I pay my bills is now in jeopardy? That's scary. When people say, why don't you want to have kids? Or when will you have children? And I've worked with children in the past, and I plan to do so in the future. Look at what we're in. Look at the society that we're in. And people's, their argument is, well, we can't let Hitlers speak. We can't let people who utter hate speech, we can't let them be heard. And guess what? This is going to be maybe a little controversial, but I believe that people who have strong convictions that go against the grain should be heard. Why? Because you want to know right? You want to know where the hate's coming from. You want to know where the source of that hate's coming from. You don't want hate operating in secret. Let them expose themselves. Really. Tell me how you really feel. Tell me how you really, really feel. I want to know. Because organizations like KKK and, you know, other weird groups that promote hate and division and separation, they used to work in the underground. They used to work behind masks. They used to disguise themselves. And now we live in an age where everything's being exposed. We're in the age of Aquarius. Truth will always prevail in this age. Okay, I don't know how long this age will be. If it's 100 years, 200 years, I don't know. 5,000, who knows? But it's very difficult to hide and disguise yourself and to try to blend your true core truth. So I would want to know, you know, if something's considered hate speech, I would want to like, oh, okay. Oh, that's the person. That's the source of where that's coming from. I wouldn't want to completely mute someone, because then they go and they hide, right? And they disguise themselves, and then they do some heinous acts, and you can't figure out where that's coming from. No, 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 no. Let people who have different opposing views from you expose themselves. Let them put it all out there, so you know where to... Evil likes to hide in darkness. Evil likes to hide where, you know, it's like, you don't see me, I see you, you know, like, and that to me isn't right. Let people say what they need to say, right? And that comes at a price. That really comes at a price. Sharing your authentic self is becoming more of, you better have money. You better, as Nevelyn said in her video, you better have a financial plan and maybe a lawyer on retainer. I'm sorry, like that's, especially if you got a lot to lose. If you don't have much to lose, they just shut your platforms down and silence you that way, and then you have to start all over, right? And they're thinking, okay, this person isn't going to speak anymore. We shut them down, so we let them know we do not and will not allow them to share their authentic voice. So they're either going to just be silent, they'll lose their subscribers, people will forget about them, and they'll have to start over if they wish. But now that especially if you're going to decide to start over, you're flagged. Now they're really going to watch you. If you decide to start again, right? And so that's what so how do we express our authentic voice? It's almost like pre-internet era. Like, how did one go about this, right? How do you allow your truth to, how do you connect with other like-minded people if the very tool that's being used to connect with other people has a potential of being shut off? Like, if you're not in alignment with these views, and the question is why are they doing this? It's the most un-American thing I've ever experienced. I've traveled. I've lived in socialist countries. Socialism is a cousin to communism. You know, communism is like socialism on like speed or something. Okay, it's horrible. It the idea, when it comes to communism and socialism, the idea is great. Oh, I gotta go. Someone's calling me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I would love to continue this soon.